I mean, are they really not on your team? Can you not trust her? She's given you 3 kids. She loves you forever. She's married you. She's not on your team? Really? Well, kinda. Welcome, Mids Watch again. It's been a little while, guys. Hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. There's a nice field report here that I like where somebody comes in, typical of the red pilled space of, and this one's actually only 6 years ago, so it's a little more recent, where a lot of guys will take a concept and then crank it up to 12. And unfortunately, and I don't want to use the classical, well, they're missing nuance. They're missing the subtleties of it. No, it's just like there's a specific application of things. You can't just sprinkle a term on whatever you want to do with your life and expect it to work out. So in this case, it's a guy, and he's long since deleted, like most people that ask questions. They have their one bomb question, put no details on there, and then they just leave. So I'm glad that their stuff is still here, and some of it I've had to search for. In this case, this guy's coming in like, your wife's not on your team. He's like, I've noticed a few recent threads where posters may want to do a self-examination. You notice that's the first hint when you got some guy without frame, is that he's like, I see there's a problem with all of you guys that I need to sort out here. Guys keep thinking their wife is playing on the same team as you, and worse, they think she's playing by the rules, and neither is true with those women. She's not your best friend forever. She ain't the mother of your kids. She's the opponent in your game of sex. So many problems go away when you internalize this line of thinking. You now see her as she really is. The ridiculous expectations vanish. No more butthurt about covert contracts that she never promised to obey. Now you can set boundaries like a man. It's not an angel virgin in front of you. It's your adversary in the game of sex. Before I get into this, there's a couple pieces of background you need. One, there is some evolutionary psychology theory to back this up. When you look on an individual level, and I'm sure you've heard many guys talking about red-pilled relationships and all that stuff in here, they talk about how there's a polarity. The things that men, bring to the table and the things that women bring to the table end up complementing each other. Guys are completely, level-headed. They don't have a lot of neuroticism, a lot of anxiety. Girls have a ton of that stuff. So as you can see, you come together. What do you bring to the table? Hey, I'll calm you. I'm calming you down. Oh, that's great. I can give you a baby. And you know what I mean? Things work out like that. But on a macro level, the sexual strategies are adversarial. Girls build up self-deception, which allows them to deceive men better. Girls have a hidden estrus cycle. Guys do not. Guys are physically more imposing than women. So you can use violence to assert your things. Like I said, there's nothing about it that's cooperative on that giant level. And the reason that the polarity works out from that is that people tend to sacrifice the strongest parts of their sexual strategy on a macro level to survive the individual ones. Now that I've gotten all of that nerd shit out of the way, I gotta get to one more piece of background. And it's probably the best piece we've had on this She's Not on Your Team. And it's a famous poster, Archwinger. Everybody who's been around the space knows him. He's got a lot of insight. And in his taste, he says, never show weakness. She's not on your side. You notice the difference there? It's not she's not on your team and you got to treat her like a whore. It's like, yeah, don't show weakness. She's not on your side. He's talking about there's a myth floating around the sphere about this good alpha male, a guy who's hot and charming, successful, interesting, funny, smart, and almost importantly of all, a great leader. Not a fake red pill alpha, but a real alpha. It's cringe as hell just even repeating this, but you get the point. A guy who's not just out for himself, but a guy who genuinely cares about others, brings them up, and makes them feel good. A perfect 10 of a guy. These real alpha males, who were most often born and raised that way and never needed a creepy internet cult like us to learn how to be men. They earnestly communicate. They're admirably human. They're the opposite of everything that we red pill evil dudes teach. They're not aloof and indifferent. They're engaging. They're compassionate. They're concerned. They don't stonewall and tease. They don't ever nag. They're not stoic and emotionless. They're open and honest, and they captivate you and make you like them even more. And they're not perfect. They're human. But they own their flaws and mistakes and admit them readily because that's being a real man. Again, as soon as you hear the real man thing, you know, like he's mocking it here, but you realize it's somebody trying to get you to do what they want, and they don't have a way to influence you, so they attempt to shame you. Just don't ever forget that. Anyways, Archbringer continues, like, I've never met a man like this, ever, but I hear about them all the time, mostly from women. So many women think they're dating awesome guys, and 6 months later, I'm told these guys turn into assholes. Nobody ever seems to say, I was wrong, I misjudged him. I was stupid and horny and pretending to see what I wanted to see. No, it's always the guy changed somehow, or was manipulating and tricking that poor little girl. She wasn't wrong, he was wrong. But don't worry, because she's already met another guy who's 10 times better than the last one, and he's a real man per my paragraph above. Crossing my fingers for this one. 17th time's the charm. Anyway, somehow the myth of this, like, good guy alpha has leaked into the sphere from that flat planet at the center of the universe where women live as all the stars rotate around them. Men and boys slowly becoming men, right here among us, are advocating for this path of righteousness. Being an upstanding Mensch, which I think is a reference to the Ubermensch, a leader among men, a guy who's honest and in touch with his feelings, but still a man. A guy who owns his mistakes and admits his weaknesses, and a man who loves women earnestly but cares about them and isn't afraid to take on risk, on love, as long as he has a few standards and isn't just falling over any girl who doesn't slap him. A guy whose goal is to be the perfect combination of attractive, manly characteristics, aka alpha. Remember when I told you before, when people use like the alpha male and beta male as like replacements for good and evil, godliness and evilness and that kind of thing? It's exactly what he's referencing here. The kind of people that do that, they just build these container words and they fill them with all their emotions and values and they throw it at your feet and you expect them to abide by your box, but they don't know what's in your box. Those boxes full of your emotions, not theirs. Anyways, here at the Red Pill, we're already aware of that guy. We even have a name for him. Blue Pilled. Here's the deal. Women are not your enemy. They are not the other team. They're not against you. They're not trying to exploit you or manipulate you. They are just out for themselves, same as you. Sometimes being out for themselves is going to run contrary to what you want to do for yourself. Sometimes your goals will align, at least a little bit, and it almost feels like you have a teammate, but you don't. You don't. Because what you want and what she wants are not necessarily the same thing. And if one of you sacrifices what you want, that's not going to make the other person necessarily do the same. So while women aren't your enemy, they are definitely not on your side either. They're not your friends, they're not your confidants, they're not your safe havens, they're not your respite, they're not even your wife or your girlfriend. She's not on your side either. Like, do you know why women watch Jerry Springer, reality TV, Judge Judy, and whatever the fuck else is going on right now in the dregs of humanity while reading tabloids explaining in graphic detail how celebrities in the royal family are every bit as fucked up and human as...
Boom, what's up fam? Got some big news to share that unfortunately is not so good, so I'm gonna jump right into it. You're gonna watch this video and you're gonna cry. At least we can laugh at your ass as you cry like in the corner like a little f***ing girl in the fetal position.
Because people like seeing weaknesses in others. It makes them feel better about themselves without having to make any effort to actually be better. So when your woman's feeling low, she'll try to assess your human side, quote, quote. Whether that's trying to make you angry, trying to make you sad, trying to make you horny, trying to make you apologize or admit something, she wants to reveal a chink in your armor because she feels bad about herself and needs you to look more human so that she still knows she's good enough for you. That chink in your armor means she still has some control over you. And it's a difficult and misleading situation because she likes to feel that way. It makes her feel good, even happy for a little bit. And you care about her, so you want her to feel happy and good for a bit. And you want to open up a little and you bit by bit for her and let your guard down a bit because it feels good to be accepted and validated and to make the people you love feel good about themselves. But, this is a big but, Red Pill figured out something that you don't want to accept. The hard part about this whole thing for you to swallow is that affection is not the same thing as attraction. Women don't want to fuck weak men, even if they like them. They say they do. You just look around social media anywhere. Reddit even. It's apparently the single largest bastion of special snowflakes in the world that are not like the other girls. If you take women at their word, Reddit's chock full of women with exceptionally high libidos who soak through their panties every 5 minutes thinking about their skinny, laid-back, underachieving, nerdy, over-emotional boyfriend that can hardly keep up with them sexually. Never met a woman like this, but I hear about them all the time, mostly from women. Anyway, scroll up, and you can see what he thinks about that. So if you want a friend, make a friend. A guy friend. But if you want a girlfriend who's eager to please you, wants to fuck your brains out, don't treat her like a friend, or that's all she'll be. If you want to communicate about real issues, discuss ideas, discuss improvement, talk about how you feel, find a guy friend you admire and you want to learn from. If you need to cry, lock the door. If you're injured, disabled, or have cancer or a mental illness, that's between you and your doctor. Fuck, join a support group and meet guys. But when you're sitting next to a woman you care about, never show weakness. It's a trap. You'll make her like you, but then you'll make her fuck me. So now that I got that one out of the way, you understand. Do you see, though, there's the difference between like the original pieces we got here and then everybody else who kind of takes it and just throws some bravado onto it? So it's always good to go back to as far earlier in the source material as possible. There's less clout chasing, there's less bravado, and less of a chance that the regression to the mean has taken effect and you're getting the writing of some 19-year-old incel who thinks he knows what he's talking about because he read 3 Rodel articles, half an episode of Fresh and Fit. Anyways, Jack chimes in on this one, and it's a different take. So here's the thing. You're going to hear 2 takes that are similar but different, and the idea is to apply the one that works best for you. It's kind of the essence of what Red Pill's about. He's like, I think the athletics race, way better analogy. You know why? Because, we in this track we meet and called life. I'm not competing against anyone but myself. There's a great post that was on the Red Pill's front page about nobody cares if you live or die, and it's a somewhat dramatic yet effective way of saying you should always put yourself first because nobody else will. And I'm fine with that because, like I said, the only thing I care about is running faster than I did before. And that's what everything comes down to. My sprints, my goals, my time at the finish line. And yeah, sometimes you'll join a track team, like a workplace or a marriage. You'll be racing with people. And the team only wins as many medals as everybody's individual performance. You'll have teammates that elevate your performance, and you should make the most of those guys. You'll have teammates that bring you down, and you should avoid them like the plague. But team or no team, the race doesn't change. The only thing that matters is how fast are you running, and how fast do you want to run. So your performance may inspire those around you to become better. Perhaps some will realize they'll be happier just helping you run faster. We want to reach a point in our life with our wives where rather than try and race against us, they have such respect for our performance that they enjoy a role where they schedule our training sessions, make sure we're hydrated and fed, and cheer us on. Some of us even have that marriage, and some of us do, and if you have it, great. Accept it, accept the help, appreciate it, and also realize that if you don't continue to achieve your racing goals, at some point she's going to stop doing this. She'll start running races herself because she thinks you're not fast enough, or she'll stop cheering you on, or even worse, she'll fetch Gatorade for some other dude. So this may make you angry, but it shouldn't, because your racing goals shouldn't be based around your wife's affection or your loyalty. A personal record is a personal record. Usain Bolt doesn't give a shit about who else is in the starting blocks next to him. His only opponent is himself running that 9.58 seconds. And if somebody in the chat watching this can leave me in the comments, I don't know if that's his current record or not, because this was a little while back. Anyway, so yeah, your wife's not on your team, but really, nobody is. The people you race with and against with will come and go. Your wife's support may spike and ebb. You may have envisioned marriage as some 3-legged race where one of you should pick the other one back up if they stumbled, and like the op said, it's dead wrong, and you shouldn't want that anyway. Like, how fast can you really run in a 3-legged race? Not very. So life is not you versus your wife. It's not you versus your job. It's not you versus your kids. It's not you versus anything. It's you versus you. So I repeat, the only thing that matters is how fast are you running and how fast do you want to run. So while I enjoy this one, back to my take on this, is it's a nice field report, and this is a little more in the meta side. You'll notice these things always had ebbs and flows, where it's going to be a lot of field reports, guys running through things, guys stumbling through things, guys who are helping others out on the exact same things they're having issues with. And then if you have a decent body of meta work together, you eventually get theory posts. After you've read like 100 field reports on the exact same situation. In this case, guys trying to be teammates with their wife, treat her like their best friend, and finding they get, buried for their troubles, you come up with theory. In this case, your wife is not on your team. And then if you're a smart guy, you kind of apply it not literally, but seriously. You understand that. You stop looking for your wife's validation. You stop needing her approval being the reason that you're doing what you do. You do it for your own reasons. Then you get two different responses from that. You get the autistic guy that's like, yeah, your wife's a bitch. And if you treat her as anything other than a bitch, then you're a chump. And you're like, all right, whatever. Then you get normal guys who are like, yeah, it's just like a race, man. Like your coach helps you, your teammates help you, but at the end of the day, you're racing against yourself and you got to get better at it. And they'll help you when you're up and they'll look to shed you when you're down. And that's just the nature of the game, and just kind of learn to accept it. So I like it. And the takeaway for you guys is when you're listening to this, does it help you take better actions? And in this case, this one should. Stop looking for approval. Stop looking for validation. Stop pretending that your wife gets to be all things. Your wife or girlfriend, they are not both your mom, your best friend, your brother, your pastor, your workout coach. They don't need to be everything. They just need to be, woman. And then you need to do your thing. And if you need a friend, go get a friend. Guy friends are great. Guy friends are awesome. If you need somebody to talk to about, philosophical things, go join a philosophy class. If you need somebody to talk about God with, go get a pastor. If you need somebody to talk about your mental problems, hire a shrink. The point is, and I know this is weird because I talk about how narcissism is about compartmentalizing people into archetypes, and this isn't the same thing. Your relationship is based on some sort of mutual value add between you and other people. And your wife's is not that. And I think a lot of guys miss the point because, again, a lot of these women love to run their mouths and say, I would love for a super attentive guy to be vulnerable and tell me his feelings. And all they're doing is they're asking you to give them a mini Jerry Springer episode. Or for those of you guys who may not get that reference, I'll just say, please be a fresh and fit episode for me. I would love for you to drink a White Claw and get kicked off my podcast. So I'll leave you with that one. Enjoy yourselves, guys. Cheers.